not anything we need to do. We need to change how we speak and how we relate to this divine energy that's within us at all times. And that's what our duty assignment is. There's a story by Don Shula, and how many of you knew about Don Shula? He was a really, Steve does. He's a warehouse of information. Don Shula was a famous football coach. And one day, he got word that his special teams coach was in the hospital. His name was Mike. He's in the hospital, and he's been diagnosed as what? Terminal bone cancer. Well, Don Shula wondered about that. What do we need to do? Naturally speaking, when we get diagnosed as some disease, what do? We can either embrace it or reject it. So Michael embraced the fact that he's dying. Michael's parents, Michael's minister, started praying for health, praying for healing. And all of this acceptance of the diagnosis and acceptance and the praying for healing didn't do much good. Michael was going downhill fast, and he was getting close to leaving the planet. Don Shula, being Don Shula, I loved the guy was just a famous coach. I loved him. But Don Shula said, I'm going to try something different. It's worth a shot. I'm going to do something different. I need to get Mike out of the mode, out of consciousness that he's dying, for goodness sakes. I'm going to do something that's going to rattle his cage. I'm going to try it. It's worth the try. So he goes into the hospital, and here's Mike lying there, the tubes hanging out from the back, and hi, Coach, thanks for coming. How you doing, Mike? I'm dying. Well, Don Shula plugged into his plan. He said, that's nonsense. You are not dying. Do you understand what I'm saying? Being the coach that he is, do you understand what I'm saying? You are not dying. You are healing. Do I make myself clear? And yes, Coach. And furthermore, I need you at spring camp in July, because we're going to have a winning season, and I need you there so that we'll have a winning season. Do you understand what I'm saying here? So I want you to get off your butt, get out of this hospital, and I want you there in July. Do you understand? Do you see where I'm coming from? Well, this rattled Mike's cage. I mean, this guy wasn't moping around. I mean, God. He said, yes, Coach, I understand. And what happened in July? Tell me what happened in July. You guys can do it. He was there. He shows up on the playing field. His cancer's gone. What's going on here? Is there a power and a presence in the universe that responds? Quantum physics says there is. That there's an energy source, we call it the field, or I don't care what they call it, that responds to our emotions. And so what happens in that case is that it responded, but with vigor it responded and helped. Now, is that a coincidence, a miracle? Doctors would say that's a miracle. Who cares what they call it? We know that that presence is with us at all times. I'm going to tell you about Stella and Angelo. This really was, we have it on tape. When we built our house, several years ago now, 25 years or so or whatever, there's this big, huge yellow pine in our backyard, only 15 feet from our back door. And we wanted it to be there forever. A guy knocked on the door one day and said, what are you going to do with your dead tree? I said, what dead tree? Well, it's 100 feet in the air. We didn't look up and died. So what do? We called the most famous, knowledgeable lumberjack in our area, our friend Reggie Lewis from the Chichansi tribe. And so we called Reggie and said, we want you to come and see this and give us some ideas of what we need to do. So Reggie shows up. And he's looking up at this tree, and he's looking down, he says, you know, Angelo and Stella, I can lay that tree down right there between those two oak trees. It'll lay right there. That's what we're going to do, just lay it down. So what he did, he gets a saw, he makes the original cut. And he's looking at it again. He said, oh gosh, my cut is not perfect. I won't be able to achieve what I just told you. I need a little wind. You know what Reggie did? We were in shock. And we're religious science people. Reggie walked away from the tree, went within in meditation, and talked to the Father. And we didn't hear exactly what he said, but basically it was something to the phone. I could use a little wind right now. I could use a little wind right now. And so we were amazed. The wind came up. The wind comes up. And Reggie looked around and he said, "Thank you, Father." Isn't that awesome? Thank you, Father. And so he got his wedge and he used his hammer and he pounded. And the tree silently, we were amazed, a huge tree silently laid down right between the two oak trees. Isn't that cool? Talking to the Father. And the Father said, "Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of wind." Thank you. Isn't that cool? Why don't we clap for Reggie? He's not here. Reggie has established, just as Ross Montgomery, just as Tony has done, established what we call an intimate relationship with the power that's within ourselves. And I don't care what we call it, the Father, whatever it is. It's a magical, it's a mysterious power that is beyond all form. And it comes from a dimension of all possibilities. There's nothing we can't ask it to do, and it will do it. What we need to do is create an intimate relationship with it. How do we do that? Well, we have to cleanse our mind of all this garbage that we cover all the time. This idea of lack, this idea of separation, this idea of dominion by the physical environment. Because I always say that all power and all presence of the physical is caused by our conditioned mind thinking that there's separation and that there's more than one power in the universe. Because when we give in to something that's happening in our life, we're giving it power. And when we give it power, we're saying that there's more than one power. There's more than God. There's this as well. So what these people are doing and have done, and the lessons that I get from all this, is that we need to establish in some way a very close relationship with Spirit. When I was in the Marine Corps years ago, I did that in a different way. At the time, I wasn't in the New Thought belief system. I was a fallen away Catholic, actually. And where you're flying and you're involved with the military stuff, a book came out in 1958 called God is My Co-Pilot. Oh my God. How many of you know about God is My... I embraced that, and I used it throughout my whole career in the military and through my whole career in another military, which is being a superintendent of schools. I embraced that as being God is my co-pilot. So we're talking about intimate relationship. Why don't we look at this idea of this entity? I know it smells of duality. My minister's going to say, "Andrew, you're talking duality." No, I'm not. I'm talking about relationships. Let's have an intimate relationship with this power within, which we are anyway, and look at it as my co-pilot. Isn't that a good idea? I think it's a good idea. Mm-hmm. And so it got us through a lot. For most of us, the whole idea is a matter of faith, trust, release, and belief. We need to really establish the intimate relationship. And I think the more we use it, the more it's available, because the mystics all tell us God waits for us to wait for God. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to end with a story that shows that. God waits for us to wait for God. So the important thing is to expect it, to know it's true, and to use it. And as we use it, the more we use it, the easier it becomes. I'm going to close with a story that's about Rosemary Scheffner. Rosemary loved to swim. So she made a kind of a wrong decision one day. She decided to swim out in the ocean at Santa Barbara alone. Little did she know that she was not alone. We are never alone. And so she swam out there, and sure enough, she got a cramp in her right leg, and she went under. And out of fear and desperation, she called for help. She cried and yelled. She went under the second time. The third time, as she's going under, she talked to the Father within. She said, "Father, I accept your help in reaching the shore. I accept your help in reaching the shore. She's going under. She feels something under her right arm. Some of you know the story. And it brings her up to the surface. And she realized at that point that the Father within had spoken and responded to her. She was looking in the eyes of a beautiful blue dolphin. And that dolphin brought her to the shoreline, waited until she crawled up onto the beach before it said sayonara and left. Isn't that cool? We know that we have this communication. We just need to know how to deal with it, what part it plays in our own life, and how to speak with it. And the main part is this. The language of the Father is not necessarily the words. It's our thoughts, it's our emotions, it's our feelings. That's the language of the Spirit. And say it really loud and clear.